So this is Ray Bonecrusher fighting for my First Amendment right. He said that I'm alright, I am on here to go over a few things today. As you know, I am fighting for my First Amendment rights and I'm being sued because of me using it in a case. You should not have opened your mouth and said the things you said about Jeremy. Plain and simple as that. You know, you go on your channel and you talk shit about Jeremy, and this is what happens. And then he said, our ground is for belonging to a group and we're being accused of being in some kind of group, conspiracy. You are part of a group. It's called the What the Hales media ecosystem, with the intention of taking down Jeremy's YouTube empire. Well, with Michelle, a fellow named John Cook is being sued. Now in the first case, they're accusing him of something he didn't do. Bullshit. Stop. First of all, anything that John has done, he's been proven guilty. He violates the law. He pointed a pew-pew at somebody. He got arrested for it. He violates the protection order. Guess what? He got found in contempt of court and was found guilty. And John said he did not absolutely do it. So he said, he absolutely didn't do supposedly the signs that are out there. Stop. Okay? Stop. First of all, there are witnesses that saw you doing it. You admitted in the Ohio court that Michelle wrote the signs and you went out there and posted those signs. So stop. I'm telling you, think John is just being drugged along because they feel like putting him in there to fill space. No, John keeps violating that protective order by making unwanted contact all the time with Jeremy. And he's been found guilty of it. Then he said they're all taking shots at him, and the total number of people, by the way, that's in a group is easily equals 1. And I put the footnote, Bruce is not a good lawyer. And he isn't. And my advice is maybe John and Michelle should go after Bruce and sue him for what he done. So they said that the channels used my dad's obituary so they could track down my family and myself to start this harassment process. And this harassment process Okay, first of all, stop playing a victim. You got yourself into this, sir. You got yourself into this, sir. Okay? You chose to open your mouth and publicly humiliate and go after Jeremy on your channel. So you're just as much a part of it as the two fleas are. And maybe you should think about, maybe that's the reason why you're being sued. Bruce, they found, okay. So he was talking about Bruce and his wife and the children. I said, bullshit. Okay, bullshit. Nobody went after him and his wife. Nobody called, nobody did these things that you're supposedly accusing people of doing. And she lied when she said that she was injured. Okay, because there's a post out there that shows that she was in a coffee house, drinking coffee and doing other things. Her arm wasn't, like this. If she did something to her rotator cuff. I'm going to get into this channel through, but not today. By the way, this guy put a satire song up there with the devil, angel. So he's talking about DJ Radis supposedly made a video a long time ago. And this was a long time ago. And you notice, this is what they do. They bring up the shit from the past. But if DJ Radis made that song, he probably got rid of it or it's private. And then he said, I'm going to tell you that caused a great deal of anguish because of the threats that he had perpetrated. And I put in a note that nobody threatened John or Michelle or that little girl. So stop telling that's the reason why you're being sued, you fucking old fool. That's the reason why you're being sued, you fucking old fool. Because you can't stop running your damn mouth long enough. And that's the reason why you're being sued. Then he said, happens to be a channel out there that has helped with much, actually more than all of the rest of them put together. If we really come down to it, she's helped in making sure a friend got up for privacy. So, how did the two fleas help Michelle? Money was taken in for the purpose to give to Michelle to build the barn, the fence, Holly Jolly Christmas. But instead of helping Michelle with the barn, she took the money, said it was her money, and it was donated for her to do whatever she wanted to do with. How is that helping somebody? Seriously, how is that helping somebody by doing something like that? And how could you do that to them? And again, he talked about the Christmas party and getting their house finished. Okay, well, if they're going to get the house finished, please show proof that there's work actually being done on the barn. And then he was talking about different channels like Stupid Dave, David Hound, Richard Luthman. And they're part of the anti-what the hell's media ecosystem. They've been putting out defamatory statements and talking crap about Jeremy. That's why they're named in the lawsuit with them. And then he said, now when I got on here, I didn't necessarily think that John and Michelle were the greatest citizens in the world. And unlike all people out there, I looked at him and said, did they measure up? And I was looking at Mr. Hales, and I'm sorry. I thought that he was going to be the man because he professes to be a Christian. He was a former minister. He preaches in a church. Again, and see, this is why you're being sued, because you're always going after Jeremy's religious beliefs. So, alright, I come along this thing, and of course, it was Otter Creek. This drama going on had to do with this family, and I felt was under attack, and I looked over and I looked at both sides. Bullshit. First of all, nobody was attacked. Okay? So stop lying right there. Stop lying right there that nobody was attacked. And I think you seem to forget, my older gentleman friend, that it was Jeremy, it wasn't Jeremy, but it was John and Michelle that started all this. Why? Because she was told no. She stalked Jeremy to Otter Creek to get money and to get stuff from Jeremy, and Jeremy said no, and that's when she started all of this. I got told off, but not to the extent I did from Jeremy's side. The people were vicious over there. I don't know why later I figured that out, because you're a leader and you collect people of the same feather. And then he said, as these people start unfolding, you can see what they're doing. It's kind of a reflection on whoever the leader is. And as you look at the channel, you get to see the differences between channels. Stop, Ray. Stop, Ray, okay? First of all, Jeremy is not my leader, okay? He's not any of our lead. He's not our leader. He's not the leader of 730,000 people that are subscribers to his channel. He's just a YouTuber doing his thing. But see, you forget, it's your mouth and what you said about Jeremy that got you into this lawsuit in the first place. And nobody on our side is being vicious. First thing I envisioned when I got done with that, I started looking at Michelle and John, and all of a sudden, they weren't this bad couple I thought they would be. They were. They had flaws like all the rest of us do, but if we're going to be judged on flaws, what chance of us it's what we do every day and the next day and the next day. John hasn't had a drink in over a year. Congratulations, John. I really commend you people that do it because they want to do it. It's not because somebody else wanted them. Man, and that takes a lot of grit. John has the grit, a real man. And again, I'm going to reiterate, okay, Michelle and John started all this. She stalked Otter Creek. Let me re-say that. She stalked Jeremy to Otter Creek to get stuff and money from Jeremy. And when Jeremy said no, that's when she went on this nasty thing, this nasty ride that she's on. I think you forget. Quickly you forget. And then he goes on to say, I can't think of somebody, I gotta sit up. can't think of somebody that would defend her more than Michelle. That girl loves, and she's talking about the adoption. Okay, so he's talking about the adoption and how Michelle got her from the mother because she was going to be aborted and whatnot. Not. Okay, I still say that I want to see proof that adoption is real. I want to see that paperwork is real, that adoption is real, that they went through the proper agencies to adopt that little child. Because I don't believe it's real. I don't believe I still believe to this day that Michelle just took that child. I could be wrong, but you have not shown any real proof that adoption is real. You can get anybody to come onto a live stream and say they're an attorney for such and such a person. And say that the paperwork is legal. They might have got the lawyer. That paperwork might be real. But in the past, I don't think so because they make up shit as they go along. And then the biggest thing is you're brainwashing that child into thinking that Michelle is the mother. And then he said, okay, he said it, I'm going to say it. And he did strike my channel with no warning whatsoever. Took it. I guess I pissed him off. I did it as a satire. But you probably deserve to have that video struck, since you technically are harassing him and defaming him and trying to ruin his life and his business online with your garbage. And then he said, I can tell you right now, or hear it, because a lot of people don't really listen to him when he's talking on Sunday. They get bored because it's long, over an hour sometimes. Although he thinks he's the king of the night shows, but that's not necessarily true. Okay, yes, we do listen to Jeremy. All of us listen to what Jeremy has to say. I mean, he's not our leader, but he's somebody that we look up to. And as far as being the king, he thinks he's the king of night shows. I don't think so. So he goes on to say, a while ago, close to a year ago, I have said as much as I'm tired of the rhetoric, and part of it said that you're using John and Michelle's daughter as a focal point to save the child and save the daughter. People become extra vicious, and calls went into CPS, and those calls were found to be unfounded over 27 times. Okay, well, the thing is, we all have a concern for that child's well-being and the conditions that she has to live in. Okay? That's why CPS was called. And as far as I'm concerned, okay, CPS dropped the ball. Because I do believe the authorities also made a phone call. The CPS dropped the ball and didn't do their job properly. Okay, with a camera taking pictures, it's got to be traumatic. Well, later on, down the road, they turned her in and said she was forcing drugs into her. She was overdosing the child with melatonin. Oh my God. Somebody saw her overdosing the child with melatonin. And then he goes on about peeing in a cup and stripping and, stuff like that that little girl had to go through. Well, that's how they do their investigation. And now he's talking about veterination. It's the real stuff. I also seen out there's a video out there, somebody on the West Coast during a live transmission called the Protective Service in Florida on Michelle. Person's never seen him, never talked to him, took the word of people from his channel, not this channel, but the other channel, about what was going on over there, because the third party saying this is what's going on, and somebody thousands of miles away is making calls in there, and it comes into Protective Service, and they have to investigate. They have to go out and look at this. That's why this family is going through now. Well, now look, Mike and I don't get along with each other, but I will say this. Mike saw something wrong on the property, how that girl was living, what was being said and done to that little child, and he took a concern. He had a concern, just like the rest of us. We had a concern, and he called the Child Protection Services because he had that concern. If you see that property, he saw that property was a garbage dump, and he reported all that. All right. So 100 people. He said this: of 100 people, this thing is happening in that small town. The perpetrator that's against him has called different people, all the neighbors, and live around this guy, threatened to sue. I think it's Tina and Brian. They tried to change where the property. He tried to change where the property lines are on his channel. He tore a memorial down. It's been torn down 4 times. Now, one of them they got on file, and they got his vehicle there. It has been surveyed since that happened. A new memorial is going up. Okay. Show proof. Show proof. Because Jimmy's not the only one in Otter Creek that has a blue pickup truck. And I will say this. If that memorial was put on his property, and if it was his property, and they put it on his property without his permission, he had the right to take it down. Especially if it looked like junk. And he said this, and I'll get into that too later, but I'm just telling you, those are simple little things that are happening out there, because here's a poor couple that have very little except love in their heart for their child. And I said bullshit. They wanted fame and money and possessions from Jeremy. And when Jeremy said no, that's when she went on this rampage and been doing all the things that she's been doing. And you keep forgetting, Mr. Ray, that Michelle and John started all this. And it's unfortunate that that little girl got caught in the middle of all of it. It really is sad that little girl got caught in the middle of all of this. And he said this: "That's all I've got for today, but my First Amendment right is being stepped on because of my opinion. And I got to my opinion because I researched and I followed channels that had proof of the things that I only suspected. And once the proof was put out there, there was no going back. It's there. You can't deny it. And as we go along, we'll make sure that you have a way of finding the proof. That's all we got for today." Okay, so the first part of that is your mouth and what you say about Jeremy is what got you into the lawsuit in the first place. Okay? And the second part of this is you don't have proof. If you had proof and the documentation and everything, you would have showed it. The fleas would have showed it. They haven't showed a damn thing in 10 months. Now going on 11 months. So you actually think that you're going to get me to believe that you actually have factual proof of anything? You haven't shown proof for 10 months now. That's my opinion. I think you're all full of shit. Thank you for watching.